Do you ever feel like you're walking on eggshells in your own home, terrified that one wrong word will traumatize your child for life? We live in a culture that is constantly judging our parenting, leaving us filled with guilt, angst, and a desperate need for external validation. But what if the mainstream advice is actually causing all this chaos? Today, we're starting a powerful new series about the Scheffer approach. This isn't just another method or a list of things to do. We're going to talk about why the democracy of the modern home is failing and how you can move from a parent that doesn't trust themselves to a confident leader in your home. And that is done simply by remembering what your role is. Joining me in this 3-part series about the Sheffer approach is Chagit Zelcer. Chagit is a master counselor in the approach, and she's a translator of the groundbreaking book Trust Yourself, Trust Your Child by Dikla Yosefsberg. This first part of the interview is going to be focused on the question, why does the mainstream approach make us feel so small as parents, and how we can start gaining the trust in ourselves again. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you'll get a notification when the next episodes come out. Welcome, Chagit. I'm so happy to have you here on the Parenting Wisdom Show. And I'm excited to talk about the book that you translated, Trust Yourself and Trust Your Child, by Dikla Yosefsberg. Why don't you start by first introducing yourself? Tell us how you came across this book or this methodology, and how did you start?
Okay. So first of all, thank you, Efrat, for giving me the opportunity to talk about Sheffer. And I'm happy to be here with you. I came across the book actually a lot after I came across the entire approach. The Scheffer is is called an approach. It's not a method. This is something that I'm already saying at the beginning, because it makes a tremendous difference. I'm sure as we proceed, you'll see what I mean. I became a Scheffer counselor around 15 years ago, give or take, and actually, I had already, my children were grown up, and raising my children, I was basically, I didn't have an approach. I didn't have a method. We just went with basic common sense and practical, no drama. And thank God. I mean, there were ups and downs, because there were always ups and downs. But all in all, I felt that we didn't have like crises that were unsolvable or something like that, raising our children. And I looked around when my children were already a little older and grown up. Some of them were already married. And I saw a new generation of parents, young parents, raising their children. And there was so much pressure and so much angst and so much guilt and a lot of negativity around the parenting issue, a lot of pressure around parenting. And I realized there's got to be a better way. And I became acquainted with the Sheffer approach, which actually was everything I always felt regarding parenting, just built very practically and very sensibly and totally user-friendly. And I jumped in, became a counselor, became an advisor, and also do private consults. And I do workshops, Hebrew and English. As an English speaker, the approach was taught to me in Hebrew. I translated it. That's how I got to translate the book. When Dikla Yosefsberg put out the book and it became very popular, we realized that it's for the whole world. Everyone needs it. And being that I had already created an online course in English and was teaching Scheffer in English, it was only natural that I would be the person that she asked to translate the book. And it just became another part of my mission. So now it's available, and there's no excuses. If you don't know Hebrew, you do it in English.
Yes, absolutely. I'm so happy it is available in English as well, because really all the world needs to read this message. Can you
Totally.
start by telling us a little bit about what the Scheffer approach is and how it's different from maybe the mainstream approach in parenting that we all know?
Okay. So first of all is semantics. Approach as opposed to method. When we talk about an approach, we don't say there's if situation A, do so and so. We help the parent get an overview, a new outlook at the dynamics between the parent and the child. We don't deal with the child's behavior as something that has to be dealt with and analyzed and assessed. Rather, we learn to understand the dynamics between the parent and the child and deal with the dynamics. Now, dynamics are something that, first of all, always changeable, and that's the good news. And dynamics is also, imagine gears that turn into each other, and that's sort of a symbol of dynamics, and roll into each other. And when one wheel changes direction or changes its speed, it affects the other. There is like a connection. It's an unconscious connection. It's something that it's truly very much. It may be unconscious, but it's very. It works. It's there, and between parent and child, and we very often see that a child behaves a certain way and a parent reacts.
Mhm.
We don't talk a lot about when the parent does something, the child can change his behavior. We accept child's behavior as something that is caused by A, B, C, D, according to modern psychology. I won't get into that because I'm not here to talk about psychology or psychologists. They do their work, but the Sheffer approach gives it a whole different angle because we believe that the child always has the ability to choose otherwise, no matter what happened to him. That's a tremendous issue in itself, and this enables change. It always enables change. What we learn in the Scheffer approach is to understand the dynamics. What makes it tick? What makes the parent tick? What makes the child tick, so to say? And from there we enable. We don't cause change. Psychology tries to cause change because if a child's behaving a certain way and then the parent is um, behaves a certain way, we try to cause our children to behave differently. We don't cause the child to behave differently because basically there's no way that anyone could cause anyone to behave a certain way. Only when a child chooses, whether it's unconscious or conscious choice, will change happen. So that's it's in a nutshell. It's understanding that, as you said, it's not mainstream. It's very different. But if mainstream would be working so well, why would parents be walking around with a ton of guilt and a ton of frustration, and children are not happier or more well adjusted than they were a generation, 2, 3 generations ago? The family structure is so uh, in such upheaval. And the chef approach puts things back into place. And
Mhm.
basically, it goes back to the common sense of parenting. The parent leads, the child follows. It's as simple as that. That doesn't mean that the parent is like the dictator. That he doesn't have to be. He just has to believe in his role as a parent, which the book talks about that, which is basic to the essence of the Sheffer approach.
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely see that our mainstream modern parenting approach isn't working, quote unquote. because we see a huge rise of children with anxiety, depression, children that are not leaving their parents' homes, children that are not trying things because they're just afraid. Um, and really, as you said, the anxiety that parents have and the fear that parents have about traumatizing their children, about doing the wrong thing, about saying the wrong thing. I feel like if we're following the modern psychology approach, then we are constantly tiptoeing around our children and worrying that we're causing them harm. And basically, I feel like what it did is it caused us not to trust ourselves as parents. And your book, the book that you translated, the name of the book is Trust, right? Trust yourself and trust your child. So can you start to explain, or how can a parent get back to trusting himself after all after all the messages that we have been getting in the past probably 2 or 3 decades of not trusting ourselves? How can we get back to trusting ourselves as parents?
That's the $1,000,000 question. But it's very simple, actually. The Scheffer approach is taught basically in workshops where we have a number of sessions, depending on the amount of participants, but we have 10 topics, basic topics that we talk about. The first one is the first the first meeting that a participant has with the approach is exactly about that, because that's the basis to it all. The understanding, we talk about it's confidence, the trusting in ourselves. I would say it's more or less parallel to confidence in our authority as parents. We trust ourselves and we have self-confidence. Now, when we talk about confidence, we don't talk about confidence in the sense of like I can do whatever I want. Confidence in our role as a parent. We are here, we're talking about people. There is a role, there is a child, there is a parent. Everybody plays a different role in the family. What happened with modern Western, especially Western culture, the roles have been confused. Instead of the parent leading, it's the child who leads. He leads by behavior that is causing the parent to be constantly reacting. And it's like the child is pressing on the enter or just one of those computer games, and he has the parent running around in circles or doing everything that everything he wants, even if it's unconscious dynamics. But this is what we see happening now. Basically, understanding the concept of confidence in our authority as parents, I ask a very simple question to the participants. I asked I asked them about things that are given, taken for granted in the house. Take for instance, in a car, when none of the children would dream of sitting in the driver's seat or even arguing with a parent about sitting in the driver's seat. And we don't go out to the car before we get on a trip and say, okay, nobody's sitting in Abani in mommy or daddy's seat. That's not it, it's not going to happen. And there are things that we don't have to say. That's where the real confidence is. Trust is not about talking about it all the time. When we really believe in something, we don't constantly declare, I believe in this, and this is like this is my mantra. We just live it. The less a parent has to say, the strongest confidence is. And I give the parents an exercise to do when they go home for the next week till we meet again. See, look around. What are the things in your house that you don't have to say at all? And what are the things that you say a million times and it doesn't help? This is the beginning of the new outlook. And this is where the parent realizes that the things that are given or a given that we sort of take for granted, we don't even discuss it, are where they have that basic confidence, not like something that's advertised all the time. It's just there, and it's the less we talk about it, the stronger it is. And I think I've seen parents who come back after that, after a week of this new observation. I tell them when I teach the Scheffer approach, it's like I'm giving you glasses, lenses, to see things differently completely. Up till now, you've seen things a certain way. Now it's time for a whole new outlook. Try it. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. And they come back and with a realization that it's really something that they didn't, it was there in front of their eyes. They didn't see it before. That enough gives them the confidence. And from there, we go on to the different topics. Anything could happen. It's amazing.
So what is our authority based on in the Sheffer method?
In the Scheffer approach, I apologize for being no, it's so important
very
because
important.
it's essential. The confidence is something that it's the given in the house, because as a parent we understand that there are certain things that we don't have to discuss, because we see that it's clear to the child. Look, like now, we're moving our focus on the child in a certain situation. We're getting into the car. The child's behavior is actually what gives the parent, what explains the confidence of the parent in this situation, because it's so clear to the parent he doesn't have to say it. These same kids who wouldn't dream of arguing with a parent about sitting in the driver's seat, 99% of the time they're going to argue with each other about who's going to sit where, and get into fights and get angry and cry, and it's not fair, etc., etc. And it's something that the expectations that a parent has before he even gets into, he knows it's going to happen because it's always happening. It's something that isn't sort of, there's a certain clarity that the parent has regarding the driver's seat, but it doesn't exist when what's happening with the kids. Now, this is not to say that the parent is to blame for the kids fighting. The kids are the ones who are fighting, but it has such an effect on the parent, and the parent tries to figure it out and work around it, and give him, don't give him, and it's not, and this time do it next time, whatever, the usual, but it's something that as opposed to the driver's seat, we see the difference. The driver's seat, the parent doesn't have to say a word. Regarding the children arguing about who does it with, the parent will talk himself till he's blue in the face, but it won't change anything, because the kids have that dynamics going. But I'm not looking to discuss how to get kids into a car. It's more about you asked about the basic inner confidence. The more that a parent, or not even a parent, anything that you're absolutely sure about, you don't have to analyze it. You don't have to discuss it. It's there. It exists. I think if we go back a few generations, or to cultures that aren't westernized, modernized, we see a lot more of that given. We call it the given. That it's clear. It's let's go, not fast forward, rather back to basic primitive so-called cultures, where a child will not sit before a parent sits. Very and when I say primitive, I don't mean primitive in a negative sense, rather primal, meaning coming from the original, or the original, which is what it was. It was the original setting of the world, of the family, and it worked. And the parent never had to say anything. We need a few, we all have examples, but in our own homes. We learn from that. We could take from that to understand that as parents, we don't have to constantly react. As parents, we don't have to constantly think about what we're doing, what we're not doing right. That's something that, as you noted in your question, modern psychology is constantly on, has us on guard that we don't traumatize, that children do not go through trauma. Now, as nature has it, the person who is most directly involved in the child's life is the parent. Therefore, he's the one who is always on guard against trauma, which is constantly putting him in the more he is giving him is undermining him, undermining his confidence and his authority, second guessing himself all the time, feeling guilty all the time. What am I doing wrong? Is this going to traumatize him? Is it not going to traumatize him? The parent loses faith and trust in the child that he can deal with trauma, whatever that may be, whether it's not succeeding at a test or not making the team or whatever it is. And that understanding that how we got to this point is the first step. Understanding that we are not, as parents, we are here to lead, not to protect from trauma. Parents, as nature has it, protect their children. You don't have to be told by modern psychology that you have to protect your children. It's inborn. Everybody knows that. But somewhere along the line, we became it became unclear. And when it's not clear, we become unsure. When we become unsure, that's when the parent is unsure and his confidence is undermined. That's when the child takes over in many ways, consciously and unconsciously. But
Yeah.
that's a book in itself.
Yeah. I think, I asked you, where does the authority come from? Like, what is the basis for our authority? Because I think, like many parents, are doubting the very fact of their authority because of the general societal discourse that we're living in, where we are questioning any type of authority figure. We live in a society where everybody has rights. So the child has rights, the parent has rights. We have to accept everybody, and everybody has to have their place in the world to show who they are. Everybody can express themselves however they want. And I think that these deep ideas that we're living in are making it hard for parents to understand, okay, so if I want to not limit my child's freedom, right? Because he has an essential human right and he has to be able to express himself however he wants. Who am I as a parent to limit my child? I think that many parents doubt it just because they don't trust that they actually have a right to be the ones who are
Okay.
leading their children. So
So
what is
that's
that authority? That's why I'm asking, what is the authority based on? Because
so
many parents, I think if you say it's just a given, then it's not enough.
okay. So that's another $1 million question. That's but okay, so the first of all, you've touched on the first thing that I mentioned is the psychological concept of trauma, that we're constantly protecting our child from trauma. The second concept that changed basically the structure of the family over the past 150 years, give or take, is the concept of democracy, which is wonderful. Democracy it has brought a lot of good to the world. The trouble is, it was also copy pasted into the family structure. Now, the family structure, a structure cannot stand without being built properly. You said something in your question that we realize that everyone needs his place. Exactly. That's exactly the thing. The child has his place and the parent has his place. If the parent doesn't believe that he has a place that is leading, at the end of the, we call it the given, but actually it's God given. And it's as someone who believes in God, I find it hard to explain it otherwise. And I think most people do understand that it's not by chance. We believe that the specific parent that a child has is exactly what God meant for him to have. But you know what? We're not getting theological about it. It's nature has done it. Okay, let's say the universe has figured this one out. So let's get back to the democracy, the concept of like everyone has his place and his role, right? In democracy, you have everyone has the right to vote, right? The guy who takes out the garbage has one vote, and so does the president or the prime minister or whatever, right? Because they each have one vote, but each of them has a completely different role. The president has been given the role of making decisions to go to war, not to go to war, and that's his job. Everybody, that's his role. So there's a difference between everyone having equal rights and not everyone having equal roles. That's understanding that in the family gives us, this is something else. I think the best way for a parent to understand his authority is to understand what has undermined it. It's the fear of traumatizing, and it's the being told all the time that children have rights. And even if we don't have all kinds of organizations to tell us that children have rights, we know that children have rights, and the children's rights, first and foremost, is to grow in a normal family where someone is leading. You wouldn't expect a 3-year-old to decide where to go for summer vacation. It's his parents' job, right? We can ask him, where would you like to go? You can ask a 3-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 10-year-old, a 15-year-old. We could always ask. But the decision and the role of leading is only up to the parent. There's no method of learning how to trust ourselves. Understanding that it's there already and just peeling off those extra layers that we've been given of that have made us so undermined as parents and scared to say anything because we are either traumatizing or not giving the child his rights. I mean, I don't have to say anymore. Look at at Western culture today. And the more Western we get, the more ridiculous. There must be a different word, but I think that's one of the words that I can't not use, because ridiculous means that we've changed roles. It's like we have in the Scheffer approach a very nice graphic image of the pyramid that was turned upside down, where the parents are, the point of the pyramid is on the ground, and the parents are standing. Little people became very little, sort of a miniature, looking up at the pyramid, which is upside down, and the kids are sitting on top of the pyramid on the wide part, just hanging their feet and having fun and looking down at the parents. That's what happened. The pyramid turned upside down. What we try to do is turn it back to the right way, because a pyramid that's upside down cannot last. It can't last physically, by engineering wise. It won't work. If there's a good basis, the parents are on the basis, and they lead, then we can build around that.
Yeah. So what you're saying basically is that we need to start believing that it's a given that we are the leaders, And we need to start understanding that we need to trust ourselves. And the way that we do it is not by trying to explain to ourselves why, but by breaking down all the conditions that we have started to believe that are false, all the
No
beliefs that
condition.
are false.
Exactly. This is the banner of the first session that we have. There is no condition to parenting. We've been given hundreds of conditions. You're a good parent if the concept of good parent is something that was never existed until psychology decided that you're not a good parent if so and so. So you have to be the good parent. And I think that more or less says it all. I just want to, again, semantics, but there are words that really make a big difference. When you say, "Oh, so all the parent needs is to trust," I say to believe. No, I say the parent has to know. Knowing, believing is something that's a little abstract. Knowing, the parent has the car keys in his hand knows that no one's going to start arguing with him about the driver's seat. Knowing. We interchange the word believing with knowing, helps us, grounds us in the knowledge.
Yeah. And I think also to understand that that's actually what's good for the children.
The best.
The best.
Absolutely.
That's the
I couldn't
natural
agree
way
more.
it should be, and that's the best thing for our children.
Natural. Absolutely. Natural. Nature knows what it's doing, whether it's God or nature or the universe, you name it. Nature trying to switch around nature is destroying the world. It destroys the whole structure, and it doesn't bring any good.
This was the first part of the interview with Chagit Zelcer. I'm curious to hear in the comments, what are some beliefs that you have adopted in your parenting that maybe are thwarting you from stepping into your authority as a parent and trusting yourself? I'll see you soon for the next part of this interview.